Welcome, everyone. It's Fangirl Friday. Welcome to this edition of Fangirl Friday Live. I am Anita Castellar, as usual, and I am still the CEO of Fangirl Consulting and Brand Management. Welcome this week. I want to talk to our friends over at Panda Mony, maker of AlterNation.Toy line, Ryan, Magnon, Curtis, Andersen. Welcome. Come on into the conversation. How are you?
Doing well. I'm Ryan Magnon, the unusual, as unusual.
And I'm Curtis. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. Very nice. Thank you for joining us on Instagram Live. Yes.
And hopefully we'll be doing this Facebook Live bit today too as well. So we're going to test that out. Hopefully that works. And welcome to those who haven't seen us before. Thank you for spending your time with us. We really do appreciate it. Every week we try to, unlock the magic behind either toy design or licensing or the business behind fandom. That's what we're all about. We're really passionate around fandom and of course bringing things to life for you, for those enjoyment, which is what Panda Mony, brands is doing this year. So let's talk about your new toy line at AlterNation. Let's talk about how it's, difficult and easy sometimes to actually create a new toy line and some of the challenges and inspiration behind that. So how about we start with the origin of the company and how you guys came to work together?
Okay, well, I started the company just as a passion for, I'd always wanted to have a career bringing the characters that were floating around in my head to life. I had wanted to do, I had studied and worked in animation and computer programming for video games. And I just wanted to do something on my own and just realized that games there's so many of them. The market is just chock full of really, really, really great games in whether it's mobile or on console or PC. And then same with animation, that everybody would like to have their own animated series. Conversely, the action figure aisle was a lot of the brands we had seen for years. I think when I actually started the company, the newest thing in the action figure aisle in mass was maybe like Power Rangers or Ben 10 probably.
Oh, another reboot, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think even when I started the company, it was on a hiatus, and then they brought it back. So yeah, it was Power Rangers, which was like that came out in like '93, I think, in the U.S. Yeah. So it just seemed like we had the opposite problem, and it's probably because, as we learned, it's difficult to get into toy production compared to creating a comic or not that it's easy to create an animated series, but it's difficult to sell it more than it is to create it.
Correct.
So yeah. The upfront investment is quite heavy and quite time consuming for a toy line.
So you were inspired because you felt like there was, there needed to be something new.
Correct. Yeah. It was just I felt like kids were getting a little. They were missing out. I won't say be too negative, but when we were kids, Curtis and I, it was a new figure was on the action figure aisle every year, So
yeah.
Even the reboots, which was like G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, was at a completely different scale with completely new characters and completely changed. And Transformers, even though it was a repackaging of an existing toy line from another country, got a whole new mythology. It got a whole new way that it all worked together. They crammed two different toy lines together to be able to create something new. It was there was just this churning creative engine that was popping out new toys that were getting our imaginations fired up. And there's a reason these brands are evergreen and they get to stick around, and they inspire this kind of loyalty. But it's inspiring the kind of loyalty from 40 somethings and not necessarily generating the new imaginations from 6 to 8 year olds that can and then add another 20 or 30 years to it. So that's where we want to be. That's what we want.
How did the two of you come together, though? So because you have very diverse backgrounds, right? So Curtis, you tell us a little bit about your background and then how you met Ryan.
Okay, so this is an awesome, neat, cute story when it comes right down to it. So I've been an entertainment professional for over 30 years. I was an actor for a really long time. If you're Sabrina the Teenage Witch fans out there, what's up? Gordy lives. And then after being in front of the camera for a few decades, I was producing and directing and so I was doing that, and after a long time of doing that, a buddy of mine that I did a show with was like, "Hey, so there's this guy starting a new toy company, and he needs somebody to come in and do like, I don't know, background or something. But anyway, you should submit. You should submit some of your stuff for it and try for it, because how cool would it be to work for toys?" And I was like, "Yeah, how cool would it be to work for toys?"
Right.
So through
what we actually needed was somebody to write the mythology. So I guess our mutual friend didn't tell you that.
Not really. It was kind of vague, and it was originally pitched in a very tight little group on Facebook, and so I submitted some stuff to Ryan, and from my perspective, submitted some stuff. Like a couple days later, I got an email, "Hey, yeah, this is pretty good. We should talk." And that was the thing. Like originally I was just contracted to do some stories, write some background, do some stuff. And then as we started to talk more, years and years of geekdom and fandom and action figure collecting started just spouting out of my mouth. And he was like, "Huh, you know a thing or two. Maybe we should work together a little closer." And then so from my perspective, it felt like it just kind of, this partnership organically grew out of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like Ryan's end is probably
I was going to say, from our perspective, you had written a short story about time travel. So of course I got into it, and maybe we'll get into why that is a little later. But yeah, you'd written just a few short stories, and the first one I read was about time travel, and it was really good. So we're like, yeah, this guy's a good writer. Let's get him. And
well, let's talk about that. Like, let's talk about your inspirations and like what goes into the output is a figure, but what goes into that, and it's probably your inspirations from like when you were a kid and your fandoms, and that kind of drives all of us that are in this unique niche of work.
Yeah, the fandom definitely inspires in two ways. It inspires the initial concepts. Mm-hmm. First, it's just being able to put out a bunch of ideas, but second, just pulling from like, like Thundercats was cool because of this, and Ninja Turtles was great because of that, or whatever. But the other part of it is like, what haven't they done? So we had always tried to say, what can we do to be different? That was like the big thing. It's like, we don't want people to say, hey, this is a Ninja Turtles ripoff. So we were always kind of like, what can we do to make it different? And some of that was just mixing and matching different elements. So we get a lot of great compliments where people say, oh, this is like, G.I. Joe meets Ninja Turtles meets this other thing meets that. And X-Files is another one. So that's kind of where the initial concept comes from. The flip side of that is we don't want it to just be like, like 40-year-old guys trying to do their own thing. We want to make sure that exactly, yes. We want to make sure it resonates with kids today. So we had always, every step of the way, we were constantly having conversations with kids to say, like, making sure we're not doing, something that's totally antiquated or nerdy or whatever, not cool to them.
It's hard to develop in a vacuum, right? Like sometimes you need to reach out and make sure that what you think in your head is actually something that's real, something that somebody wants, that, right? Not just me. I don't want to make just what I like. I want to make something that other people like too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Curtis, what were some of your fandoms?
So I've been an Iron Man guy from '84. So that was when I got my first Iron Man issue. It was a Denny O'Neil issue in the darker period. Luke McDonald was the primary artist on that, and Luke McDonald's Iron Man is still my de facto in my head when I think Iron Man. And like with the new 80th anniversary Iron Man, like this is it. This is totally get it. I know it's supposed to be based on Alex Ross, but it's so Luke. So I've been an Iron Man fan since before it was cool, and Doctor Who fan from old school Who. Number 4 is my Doctor, and I know that's kind of cliche to say, but like
I gotta admit, I never got into Doctor Who. I just could not get past it. I don't know. It's just
very
dry and boring to me.
I got introduced from my dad. So he was watching it on PBS back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, back in the late 70s and early 80s.
Which is how most fandoms get introduced to younger generations, right? It's
right,
through their parent, the introduction.
Totally. Yeah. And so from there, then it was G.I. Joe, it was He-Man, it was Mask. Then I got really into giant robots for a while. So even as I was entering late stage teenage years, like Exo Squad was one of my things. I really like some of those smaller toy lines that don't really get a chance. I don't know if you guys remember Eagle Warriors. It was little soldiers, 2-inch soldiers. They're put out by Mego.
No.
And
okay.
It was like an answer to G.I. Joe, but it was smaller. It was half the size. And they came with little vehicles and everything. It was the same concept, soldiers fighting an evil terrorist organization. And you know, of course, I was a Star Wars kid, and so yeah, so those were always my things. And now, even as a modern geek, I have dropped out of a lot of them. I still watch Doctor Who, not super canon. I still love Iron Man, but I don't read the books anymore. And instead, everything's gone to like tabletop wargaming. So like between D&D and Warhammer 40,000, like I just got the new Indominus box. So you know,
D&D's having a resurgence. Oh
yeah,
love that art.
Like yeah. So you know, if I weren't already married, I think I'd probably be guaranteeing my singlehood for a while. But
I don't know. There's a lot of geeky girls out there.
I know, right? It's a good time. It's a good time to
be a geek.
Yeah.
Ryan, what about you? Were you similar in like genres as Curtis, and or totally opposite?
I wasn't really into the fantasy genre as much. I was always sci-fi more, and yeah, I mean, for me, the first like real geek thing I got into was Back to the Future, and I just thought like Marty and Doc were just both like super cool, and like I wanted to be a scientist and all that stuff, and that's probably why I got into, you know, computer programming and things. But and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier was we had a lot of time travel concepts in some of the toy ideas we had, and none of the kids did not go for any of them. It was always, but luckily I was also a huge fan of Ninja Turtles and Thundercats with the like part animal, part human, just the cool aesthetics of it, and it was more about the aesthetics to me, and we found that kids were more into the powers of it. So they like the idea of like being able to have those animal abilities and be a human. Ooh, somebody's at my door. I don't know if you guys heard that.
That was an idea.
Perfect timing. So yeah, we had a few concepts that were about, you know, part animal, part human, and they kept gravitating towards that. So we blended the best parts of them together and to help create.
It's probably because kids always want to control their environment, right? They can't control much. So they like project, you know, they project their aspirations, their inspiration, you know, they're a little bit of themselves, you know, whenever they can't, you know, they want to be the big stompy character if they're somebody puny sometimes, you know, or vice versa. Or if it's like a little skinny character who's the hero, they're like, yeah, I love that one.
That's my obsession with time travel, be able to control your own destiny by manipulating time. I'd always been obsessed with that idea. Like, what if like I would be a different person if this other circumstance were different, you know? So, and
that's how you get trapped in wormholes.
Right. Well, be the first person to be in a wormhole. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a That's a bad Star Trek reference. Because I mean,
I was with you, Anita. I was with you. Yes.
Yeah. I was always into more of, I don't know, it was a mix of the sci-fi genre, geeky, you know, giant robots, but kaiju were my things too, like Godzilla. I love Godzilla. You know, but it was very different for me because I was a girl, right? But I was also, my fandom though also was more about, we didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't like we didn't get a lot of toys. Like I didn't buy a lot of things. But I consumed the content. I consumed it on TV, or I consumed it in books or magazines. I really didn't read comics as much. I read a couple here and there. My brother had a few laying around, so I just read his stuff, but it wasn't something that like totally captured my imagination. So it's good that we offer, you know, in everything that we do, like a variety of ways to get kids into the brands. That's a very, you know, business way of saying, you know, to get them into your stuff. But you know, it could be toy, it could be through the comic books, which you guys have now, right? Let's talk a little bit about that in a minute. And it also could be through the webisodes that you guys have as well. So you have animation. You know, tell us how you're doing the storytelling behind the characters.
Well, you know, you really touch on an important thing there, Anita, about content and things like that, because fandom only gets to be generated when there's a world to be able to insert yourself into. It's you can't just, there's not a fandom for little plastic army men. You know what I mean? Until they were joined into the Toy Story universe.
Right.
Like, there's no fandom for that. You can have a recollection of it. You can be nostalgic for it. You can still play with it and enjoy it. But like, the world building is what actually gives you something to be able to connect to and grab onto and follow. And for geeks like us, like, being able to really grab onto those things. We were doing pre-interview before, we were talking about like grabbing onto canon and really getting those details and finding out, you know, that there is a name for that robot that's in the back of the Star Wars scene 4 times, that you only see it once, but it has a name and it has a purpose. Like,
and before you go on too far, that was important to what we did with AlterNation. See,
I was just getting into that. Like, yes, but so when one of the things that Ryan and I really connected on in the beginning was that that when we were kids, we enjoyed a story that didn't insult our intelligence and had something deeper to it than good guy fights bad guy. And that was one of Ryan's big things when we were first setting out all this stuff. It was like, even with the pack-in comics that we did, simple stories that need to show off what happens, right? But he was like, don't make it so it's just good guy fights bad guy. Make sure that there's something more.
Characters are complex.
Yeah, that there's something to them, that they're truly motivated, that they've truly got something they're trying to achieve. And so that
comes back to like just basic screenwriting. It was like your bad guys think that they're good, you know? They don't realize they're bad guys, but you know, there's too many like cartoons where it's like, oh, I want to take over the world. Like, why? I don't know.
Kind of like Kylo Ren too, right? Where he thinks he's not really bad.
Yeah. And so there was a tremendous amount of background that we actually built before we put any stories out. So we know the history of this new future world. We know that Sabotage, which is our main villain for line 1, he was actually the poster boy for the revamp program that gave him his cybernetics in the first place. He was seen as a hero. He was like G.I. Joe. Exactly. Yes. He was like the thing that kids aspired to before he got shut down and his team got disbanded. So he's got something bigger behind him than, I just want to take over the world. He doesn't want to take over the world. His whole thing is trying to embarrass the Delta team so that he can get his team back in action. He wants to be re-engaged and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when we started writing stories about how these characters go together, it was, we have a conspiracy. There is a bigger mystery about the origins of the characters. And as they discover that, they start to like question their place in the world, their place on the team, and the interactions with everybody else that's going on. And so everything that exists content-wise for AlterNation, whether it's a pack-in comic, whether it's the webisodes, or the new graphic novel that's coming from Dark Horse that we're going to talk about more in depth later, it's all part of the same story. It's all ongoing and telling the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're really proud of and something that we want to maintain, because when we grew up, we would get really frustrated. The thing that I point to every single time is He-Man. He-Man had mini comics. And in the mini comics, he was a techno-barbarian, and there was magic, and there was no Prince Adam until later, and I really connected to that. For me, He-Man was a techno-barbarian.
And still connecting to that.
No, it gets me really upset. And then all of a sudden, Filmation came out with the cartoon, and they were like, "I guess this is it now." And I was like, "What happened? He rode a battle cat into action, and now he's got a kitten, and he's man." I was so disappointed. And eventually, I got on board. But the fact that it was so the cognitive dissonance in my brain of trying to connect the two things really, really bothered me. And I know I wasn't the only one. And
Ryan, did that bother you?
Yeah, for me it was Ninja Turtles. It was Splinter was a rat first in the comics, and then he became part of just a big rat in the cartoon, which was the first thing I was introduced to. He was a badass ninja from Japan, and that got mixed with rat DNA, and I preferred that one. So for me, it was the opposite of what Curtis had, and it never worked for me the other way. Like, why would a rat know how to be a ninja? But, so yeah, absolutely it did. And then they also they had several different mediums with Ninja Turtles. It was originally a Mirage comic, and then it became the animated series, and then it also became an Archie comic, and then a movie, and then I'm sure I'm missing something. They did a world tour. And they were musicians for some reason. I don't know.
All of it got messed up, and so we don't want to have that with this brand. And or any of our future brands.
So you want to try to have continuity in storytelling.
Yeah.
Right? So
and that's not to like clamp it down and make it so there can't be freedom. Like Tim Seeley has been writing the comic books for Dark Horse for us, and he's been doing a fantastic job. But he's also really good at understanding like the theme of something and being able to expand on it while still staying within the confines of the canon that we require.
Yeah. Right. And I think too that like what you touched on earlier, Curtis, is that's what makes good fandom. Like, yeah, everybody has their fans, but when you look at something like the two big brands that I think are really good about canon are Star Trek and Star Wars, and those are like the two biggest fandoms there are in all of geekdom. So
and they've been around for a long time, and specifically because they are conscientious about keeping true to those stories or their character elements. It's a shame that the whole expanded universe got thrown out, to be honest, because I really enjoyed that part of it more so than the usual, TV or film that you would see from Star Wars. But, that's fine. It's, I guess you have to start someplace again to kind of also re-engage a new generation, So.
Yeah, I was disappointed that the Christmas special was not canon, but whatever.
Ryan, you joke, but they have reinstituted a bunch of the concepts from the Christmas special into primary canon. So yeah, Life Day celebrations will be happening at Disneyland and Disney World as the Christmas season comes around again. So yeah.
Well, if we can all gather up around that time period again, we'll be celebrating our Life Day celebrations in isolation by that time. So let's get into the characters a little bit. I kind of teased Sabotage a little, but let's talk about how not only the stories influence the characters, but then also the designs of the toys. How do they change through time? As you're creating, again, this is original IP, brand new stuff. You can take inspiration from other folks, but then you have to do something new and unusual. So how do you start with character design and then go from there?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to work with a lot of great character designers that were like very reputable ones in my time doing animation design, and I just applied a lot of the lessons they learned. You always want to make sure that if you're taking inspiration from the story of the character. So for Sabotage, for example, well, he's supposed to be he's augmented with all of these robotics, so we made his arm very dead looking, like as if the story behind it that Curtis had was that he's barely human anymore. He's just got so many augmentations that we don't know how much of the human part of him is left. So we wanted to add this little gangrene-y kind of stuff, but you also want to you think about the audience of it and what they find appealing. So we used a lot of bright colors without making it too gaudy or too like toddler looking, I guess would kind of be the way I'd say it. Proportions.
Should we show his concept art? Should we show the
Sure.
Let's show the Sabotage
This
concept.
is one of the ones where the concept art and the final ended up being really close.
Which is not always the same. Close. That's not always usual,
Yeah, if you got El Rey handy, he was probably of the four we've sent to you, he was the one that changed the most. I'd say the overall most. Did we send Quilroy?
I did not.
No,
and I didn't send Quilroy on
but I have
purpose just because
Quilroy figure.
we have so many concept art pieces for him. He varied quite a bit.
He originally didn't have the quills. He was just going to be a bat and rhino. And we found in our testing that kids really like projectiles, and we're thinking, oh, we don't have any characters with projectiles. Which one can we make it on? And we added porcupine DNA to Quilroy.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, and fun fact
That's fun.
for the AlterNation geeks is that we had originally his feature was going to be echolocation, so there was going to be a little sound chip in him that as objects got closer to him, it would get more frequent, like a bloop, 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 little chirpy sound. Yeah. But
I like the projectiles because they're fun. Well, you need something like kinetic, right, for the kids to do, and in long distance battling, you kind of need some of that. This is neat. I like that.
Yeah. We also kind of with him, like with our characters, you always kind of want to look, well, with any character design, you want to look for unusual features, unusual proportions. So if you have something like Dart, you'll see his arms are just freakishly long.
Yeah, the concept art for him is really, really neat.
Yeah.
Did he stay as close as you thought he might?
He originally had no clothes on, so we kind of added clothes to him. We told the guy he's supposed to be in the army, so he went with cargo shorts. Some fans are on the fence. Some love cargo shorts, some hate cargo shorts. There's a large debate about that.
There's a legitimate debate in some of the reviews of the toy about whether or not the cargo shorts are cool or not. It's pretty funny.
Well, it's not just AlterNation. This debate expands to all of society, whether or not cargo shorts are acceptable. Yeah.
But Dart's also 13, so he's allowed to wear cargo shorts.
Yeah. Sure. Well, his mom might still dress him, so. But he's got a cool action too. I mean, it's hard for us to show it here, but he has a cool like jumping spring action.
The backflip action ends up being one of those things that people are like, oh, he does a backflip, and then you start doing it, and you're like, he does a backflip, and it gets really addictive.
Now,
it's kind of like those water bottle tosses.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
If you're right, we can't show it on. You're probably not going to be able to do it live, but if you go to AlterNation.Toys, you can see this on the video section.
It's true.
I wonder where that would be.
AlterNation.Toys. It's not .com. It's .Toys.
You guys have some really good demo videos that are on there, and there's a cool little commercial as well that kind of really shows the characters, highlights them very, very, very well as well. So and then you also, I like the webisodes too. They're kind of fun. They remind me of when I was a kid, right? When we were kids and we were watching, Justice League, or we were watching, just that style of animation and the dialogue interaction. There's always one who's the trickster. There's always one who gets under the skin of the other, but they can't do without each other, kind of buddy idea.
Those archetypes to me are important. I know that maybe, I just think that they're great. It's funny. Everybody has their own personality. I wish I could be like that guy. So when I was a kid, it was like, I wanted to be like Leonardo because he was the leader, but I also liked Michelangelo because I wanted to be a fun guy too, So, so here I am as the president of a toy company. Who would have thought?
You get to be one of those guys every day. So who else do we have here? We have Sham, right?
Sham,
he stayed pretty close to the concept art, and we were really happy with that. Yeah.
Why do you have him with a book?
He's supposed to be the intellect, and he's a spy. He's the intellectual one and the spy. His book, it appears to be just a normal book, but it can actually house his weapons. He can secret away the bomb accessory that he comes with, or the pistol accessory that he comes with.
Or both, if you angle them in Tetris just right.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, so the book opens up, his accessory, the book opens up, and it's
correct.
Like a hidden compartment kind of idea.
Yeah.
Like correct. The old library books, the old in the Clue films and such, where you pull it out, you open it up, and inside the pages is carved out a tool or something like that, or a weapon. That's kind of neat.
We took a lot of inspiration from the, those spy movies from, like James Bond and all those types. So he's the gentleman spy of the group.
He's got translucence to him, though. So does he glow?
He changes color.
Yep. put him in warm water and he will turn clear.
Oh, what about cold water? So he just goes back to the...
He would go back to green, yeah.
It actually gets pretty dark in cold water, too.
I should have had the warm water with me. So.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay, because we do a feature section at AlterNation.Toys where you can check it out. Yeah.
Did you say AlterNation.com?
No, I said AlterNation.Toys.
Oh,
because we make toys. We don't make comms.
That's true.
That's a way that is a way to remember it. That is I like the fact that there's like mixed materials, you know, where you got the gummy, like stretchy material, right?
One of the nice things about creating an original IP line is you don't pay licensing fees. And those licensing fees cost a lot of money going into your final toy price. Mm-hmm. So instead of paying licensing fees, we were able to produce an action figure at a retail rate that consumers expect, but cram a lot more detail and a lot more features into them.
And I don't even have the accessories with me. Like, these are just the figures. And the pack actually comes, you know, each character has like a cool little accessory with them too.
Yeah, we try to cram as many as possible. So there'll be like a weapon and then a personal item as well. So, you know, like El Rey comes with a spear gun, a harpoon, and a battle cannon that we call the blowhole, which is just kind of cool looking. And then like Quilroy comes with
got a lot of articulation.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to fit as much in as possible. That's another thing. Remember when we were kids and you'd have an action feature and the toy was all about the action feature, it wouldn't be able to do anything else.
Yeah.
It just couldn't. So it was really important to us that not only do they have animal-inspired action features that make sense with the character, but also that you would still be able to play with the toy as if the action feature wasn't there. Okay. So as much as possible, we made them articulated and posable while still supporting the feature.
How many points? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I want to go back to the personal effects. So you got Albert in your hand right now. He comes with, he's the only action figure that comes with an in-scale whoopee cushion. That actually works. You can blow it up. You can have him put a tote bag underneath any of your other action figures. I would suggest one of the Star Wars ones. Who wouldn't want to see Chewbacca sit on a tote bag?
Or Darth Vader.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
So he's the jokester, huh?
He's the jokester, yeah. He can stand up. That's something we don't show off a lot of times. He can stand on his hands. He can, as the figure can, and he hangs off of things with his prehensile tail.
And one of the things people don't think about is that his feet can hold his accessories as well.
Yep, that's it.
Yes, yeah, that's true, because most primates can, you know, hold things with both their hands and their feet. Yeah. So how many points of articulation do you think you build into these?
They're in the upper teens mostly. Yeah, some of them like are way more. Sabotage, if you count his exo arm, has like 27. So.
Wow.
But usually it's around 15. It's usually around 15, and we lose. And the typical articulation that people are used to that we lose is in the waist, and like we don't do ab crunches because that's typically where
is that you or the character?
Both. But ab crunch is usually where you'd find the fight and action feature on a lot of them. Like, yeah.
Well, you have to build it into.
You found the light and sounds.
Exploration, just like the kids.
Yeah. But even still, like with what you're doing with Sabotage, that like I could still pose his cyber arm. It's still completely posable, and then boop, and then we're still doing it. So it's good stuff.
And actually, since Albert was sort of going to be the agile one and kind of the hanging off of things and all that, he still does have the waist swivel. So yeah.
I like the way I always like the villains, so personally, but I like the way Sabotage, when you flex his arm down, this part pivots. Oops. This part pivots here.
Yep.
As well. Like it twists and turns. I don't know if you can, let's see if we can get that there. Let's see. It like twists and turns, so it's kind of neat that way, where I don't know, it's just not, it's not static. So I kind of like that. So.
That was quite a feat of engineering, but yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you have the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, all that, and then you have to like pivot the back part too. So that is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So not a lot of figures have attachments like that. Usually you have to like attach it on, right? It's like a separate piece where you plug it in. So that's kind of neat. So what else do we have going on for these characters? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Phase 1 is 6 characters, yeah.
Yeah, and what else do you think that you'll be developing post-COVID world? Because we know that everything is kind of on hold with that.
Well, there's phase 2, which are 2 more villains, which is Bomber, who has a catapulting scorpion tail that feature, and that's really neat. So he can launch. He's part bombardier beetle, part scorpion, and so he launches acid balls out of his scorpion tail.
Okay.
So that's kind of neat. And then Alpha, who is the big bad. He was the original project. He's got powers that rival all of the team. He's just got a lot of things all packed into one single creature. He's the largest character we've ever made. And he's got 2 giant bat wings and an articulated jaw. He's kind of like
Trap Jaw.
Yeah, if Predator and a dragon had a baby, that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Okay.
So so is
he going to be bigger than
2.
Sabotage? Is he going to be bigger than him? Oh wow.
Yeah,
wow.
He's the biggest character we've ever made.
Wow.
He's pretty massive.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have that's ready to pull the trigger as soon as the economic situation stabilizes a little bit. So yeah.
How has that affected you guys? How has the whole
The biggest thing is the convention scene. We had set aside a bunch of inventory just for conventions that we can't do anything with until we can have a convention.
Right. Why do you want to go to conventions though versus figuring out the regular retail or whatever?
It's to build. We want the consumer to push the retailer. So it was always about driving demand. We knew we were going to have gatekeepers that we were going to run into. So it was like we felt, we don't want to be arrogant, but we felt we understood the community a little bit better than some of the retailers. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like we had to prove ourselves that way to get them on board. And luckily, we are still making a lot of headway with a lot of retailers, and primarily with our partner Diamond Comics. Brought up. They recognized what we were doing early on, and have been a great champion for us.
So you have a handful of comic book shops that are actually carrying your product now.
Yeah, we have quite a few.
Yeah, and then there's also online. So you're actually doing some online retail as well. You have your own shop, right?
We do.
Which is where?
It's AlterNation.Toys. Get your parents' permission before you go. But we're also very big on Amazon and Walmart.com. And so it's AlterNation is not a hard thing to find. I mean, we're even selling on eBay. So, like reselling, like you can actually buy genuine original product from us. So Amazon, eBay, Walmart.com. What's your flavor? That's what we got.
Right. Yeah. But you still like the grassroots idea though, it seems like, where it's kind of with the community, right? And
absolutely, yeah. I took a lot of inspiration from Nintendo, and that was their philosophy all the time, was like build the demand first and the supply will follow. I don't know, something like that. I just made that up. But they were about making sure the demand was there before they just dumped a bunch of product on the market. So,
So how else do you think? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that and it's kind of the same way we found our stuff too. It's if you're going to have something new, you want to give the people who are going to enjoy it. I don't necessarily need to sell myself on a buyer, because buyers have quotas they need to make and sales they need to hit and things like that, which is why they go for the safe things that they've seen have worked before and before and before. We didn't make it for buyers. We made it for kids, and we made it for people who want something new and exciting, and so we had to get it in front of them. And so literally being in front of them at a show where they can see it and talk about it and pick up a comic and flip through it and actually see that there's something going on, and it's not just, you know, a dollar store toy or something. Like that was the key.
Not that the dollar store toys are bad. Everything
No, not
serves
at
a
all.
purpose.
Not
you know,
at
everything
all.
serves a purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, Curtis, it's like this was something you couldn't do, you know, 30 years ago. There was no internet, so it's like, yeah, we can go directly to the consumer now more than, I mean, I guess you could have done catalogs back then, which, by the way, if you're in Ohio or Pennsylvania, maybe maybe look out for your mailbox.
Taking it straight to the consumers, right? I mean, yeah, there is something to be said about, you know, we respect the consumers enough, the fans, the kids enough to go straight to them and you know, take your product and take your story, take the character stories straight to them.
Yeah, and not to diminish the retailers, we do want you, if you're a retailer, please, you know, buy lots of product. It's going to sell. So,
well, I think everybody's looking for something new, you know, and it's hard to balance. The retailers are in a hard position as well, which I get. You know, there's always shrinking shelf space, you know, because of other things that take priority within the store. Like if you're a Walmart, right, let's just make it as an example, you know, you have a lot of grocery to handle, or you have automotive, or you have clothing, or what have you. And, you know, and quite frankly, certain things pay the bills more than others sometimes. And so then that's where the shelves, you know, space shifts at retail, and then the toy buyers get caught kind of in the middle. Either they're able to expand sometimes, or they have to shrink and make room for their brothers and sisters, you know, in the store. So that's a hard place to be. Then there's like an over proliferation of IP, like, you know, just regular content. It used to be movies, but, you know, let's say it's movies. It's now the Netflix and the Amazon Prime and, you know, every other, you know, CBS All Access, like everything that is under the sun. Peacock just launched another one. So there's a lot of choices to choose from as far as what to watch. And then there's a lot of toy lines. Just, I mean, we've all been to New York Toy Fair here on the line, but if you've ever been to New York Toy Fair, I mean, it's something to see, something to behold, where there are the usual suspects of toys, you know, that exist. And then there are those who are like you guys, you know, up and coming, you know, scrapping out there, trying to carve your niche, trying to find your way within an industry that's very crowded. And in one way, it's good that it's crowded. I mean, that's my opinion. In one way, it's very good that it's crowded because it keeps everybody on their toes. You know, it shouldn't allow the bigger folks who have been out there for a while shouldn't become complacent, because you never know when an AlterNation could come up and, you know, and take over your Jurassic Park line. I mean, like, who knows, right? It never knows.
MGA, like, you know, they don't have a lot of licenses. I don't think they have any licenses, come to think of it. And, you know, they have breakout hits, Toys of the Year, you know, all the time. So
yeah.
LOL Surprise. Yeah, my daughter, she just had a birthday, and it was all LOL Surprise and Frozen. So again, Frozen again, but even that, Disney, that's a new IP, you know, that wasn't around 30 years ago. So they're not resting on their laurels either. So
right. I mean, I'm sure I've heard the stories, but, you know, when Bratz was first being developed, right, you know, people were kind of snubbing their nose at it. And, you know, who are these diverse characters? The skin tones are different. Their styling was very different, you know, the outfits and characters. So you just kind of never know who's going to come up and eat your lunch, right? You don't. And I like that. I like that idea about, new, unusual, different products, different ideas, different manufacturing processes, even, because that's where, like, there's innovation in all kinds of ways. It's not just, oh, create a show, here's a new toy line, right? It can also be in, you know, how you manufacture something, what do you do to it, you know, trends in that respect as well. But, you know, there is one more piece, though, that we should talk about storytelling and the characters for AlterNation, and that's your new graphic novel. So we talked a little bit about it, but give me some more background on it. Why is it important, or what's different about it versus your webisodes?
Yeah, it picks up right where the webisodes left off. So again, keeping it all in canon. It's our first full-length graphic novel from Dark Horse. So it's gonna be one of the biggest stories you can get as one content piece. And the thing that is really exciting about it, there are some new developments in the overall arc of the whole series. So I would definitely encourage fans to check that out. You will be definitely pleased with some of the newness of it, the new features of AlterNation.
Where can they find it?
Oh.
It's going to be available everywhere. So, you can go to your local Barnes & Noble, your local bookstore. Make sure you pre-order, though, because, you don't want to... It always helps to have it pre-ordered.
Yeah.
It'll be at every comic book store. But if you want to, you can go to Dark Horse Comics, their website, and they have a list of places that you can pre-order. But the easiest thing to do is just, if you've got a local comic book store, let them know. Or go to your local Barnes & Noble and just be like, hey, I definitely want to save a copy for myself.
Wait.
We want to socially distance. We want to order it online.
Right.
We have a link from AlterNation.Toys, don't we?
Yes.
Yes. Oh.
Yes, we do.
Just go to AlterNation.Toys and that's the easy part.
Curtis's face is like,
yes.
yeah.
I had to make sure. I had to think about it. Yeah, just to make sure. But we do. You can order it for, yeah.
I think we take them straight to the Dark Horse site, yeah?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's neat and interesting that you guys have, expanded out. How did that relationship come to be? Because you're a rather young toy line to have a relationship with, someone as like OG as Dark Horse. So how did that come about?
I can't really, maybe a little bit of luck, a lot of luck. Just put yourself out there a lot was the trick, and I don't take no for an answer, So, I do take no for an answer, but if you say no, I'll go to this other guy and ask him, until I'm done. And that's what I did with Dark Horse, and I actually happened to run into them. I think it was at a toy fair, and got introduced to Nick over there. Actually, he saw it and he was like, "Yeah, this is good." And I kind of thought, well, maybe maybe something will come of it, maybe it won't, but it actually did. And he introduced me to Meg and Carrie over there, and the rest is history. But I'd like to say it's all luck. I'd also like to think that it's the good quality of the storytelling, the character design, all of that coming together, and just really not. It looked very polished, I would say. So
yeah.
Compared to a lot of what they see. So
that's really good. I like that. And so the storylines are getting expanded. New episodes coming, maybe?
Maybe we should. The way to find that out would be to go follow us at, what's our social media, Curtis?
You can go to Team AlterNation on Twitter or AlterNation.Toys everywhere else. So yeah, but everything's in development. COVID really kind of knocked us back off schedule.
Yeah.
I don't like to just sit on that as an excuse for things, but the reality of it is it just.
Yeah, but even with that, we're still working on deals with with animation production studios right now. So
yes, and there are some things we just can't talk about too, like it's irresponsible.
You're shopping the webisodes, right? Like you hopefully will one day have a regular linear, show maybe in the works. I mean, that's an aspiration.
That's absolutely.
Like that's part of the stuff that's
difficult
to talk about.
But as a goal,
yes,
we can talk about goals.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about wishes and things we're putting into works, right? Like you guys are like thinking about trying to get it out there.
The long-term goal is AlterNation Land, which will be right next to Disneyland at Anaheim. But
yeah, I'd like to see you buy all those hotels first.
Oh,
right.
And then bulldoze them down.
But no, seriously though, yes, we would love to do. We would really like to do an AlterNation series and a video game. So those are our two next big battles, whatever, mountains to climb over.
Yeah. Would you like to see your video game be PC or console, mobile? What would you like to do?
We want to do a side scroller, really.
Explain slide scroller to the common person.
Oh, side scroller like a platformer is what they're sometimes called with Mario Brothers, things like that. It would be a combination of that. We actually have I don't know if I should even say this because it's like not covered in our. We make people sign an NDA to talk about it.
Don't say it.
It suddenly become so it's a AAA title done by I don't know, some major company, and
here's the source code.
No, we're not going to talk about that. But we can talk about how we would like to have a video game or a mobile game.
We would like a video game that would capture all of the action and mystery that's important to the brand.
And amazing.
Because our primary target is children, we actually want to engage with children. Collectors, we love you. We absolutely do. You've been early adopters, and you guys are so enthusiastic about it, and we really do appreciate it. But we really want to make sure that it gets in the hands of the kids, and mobile gaming seems to be where they're at. So coming up with a mobile game for the kids is something for sure. And as things grow, like, we don't see this stopping anytime soon. The train is going, and as it's picking up momentum, there's no reason why it wouldn't eventually grow and mature and convert into those other properties as well. It's just, right now, because things are so new and because things are going well, it's really easy to let your imagination get away with you and just be like, yeah, the novelization is coming, and here you go with 6 waves and blah, blah, blah. We've got plans.
But we do have ideas for characters for the next 6 waves, because, while we're working, we're like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have an animal that's part this and part that? Yeah.
That's part of toy development, though. That's also a part, you always have to have something in the future. You always have to have something. And it's all about timing. All of that stuff has to come out just at the right time. And, you move things around, or you bring them in, you pull them out, you push them out. That's all how it is for, toy design and toy developers. My experience has been that there's never a shortage of ideas. And there's always something for the next wave, or there's always something, to kind of capture. I've seen many a rabbit pull out of a hat because that person, has had something just noodling around in the back of their mind, or they have a sketch or something, and you're in a meeting one day, and I've been on the business side of it. I'm like, oh, the sales are down, or we need an infusion, or this character's not coming out right, the design just isn't developing, we need a replacement. Somebody's like, here we go, I got this other thing here. Check it out. So I don't think that that's a bad thing either to always have, and that shows that you are thinking about the line, thinking about the future and the growth, and hopefully, kids will gravitate towards it more, and maybe some of the adults will introduce it to some of the kids and, expand it that way. But, there's only going this way so far for AlterNation. So that's really good. I'm really glad to see that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're happy about it too. And yeah, like you said, we follow that same path about ideas. It's like, yeah, we're all going to have ideas. Let's put them in this little vault over here, and when we need them, we've got hundreds. There's more ideas than we can possibly execute. So
yeah.
And actually, execution is the important part out there, folks. I have a lot of folks. I got this great idea. The idea is always, it's great. You got to know how to make something out of it. So.
And build that credibility for the next crazy idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's true. I mean, you're only crazy the first time, right? Until it actually works. Yep. So tell us again where to find you guys. We are going to wrap this up for this week, but we might have you come back in the future. But tell us again where to find the AlterNation.Toys, the webisodes, all of it.
Everything can be found at AlterNation.Toys. Literally everything.
Are you selling .coms?
No, we're not selling .coms. We're selling toys. So
go to
AlterNation.Toys. And then Team AlterNation for Twitter. Otherwise, AlterNation.Toys, Facebook, Instagram. You want to see us on Twitch? Eventually, you can see us on Twitch again when we're allowed to be in the same room together. But yes, AlterNation.Toys, AlterNation.Toys.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, Curtis. Thank you for spending your time with us. Those of you who have been watching, thank you again for spending your time with us this week. If this is your first time, come back next week, come back every other week, because I'm sure we have something for you to see. And those weeks that we are not around or you're just bored, you can definitely go to the FanGirl Friday Live YouTube channel and catch up on all the previous episodes. Thank you again, guys. Thanks for having time with us, and I appreciate it.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot, Anita.
Thank you.